Yes, Madam Chair, we'd like to recommend item 2 and 3 for consent.
Okay. Without objection. What does that leave us?
That leaves us with 4 items, item 1, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, no continuances on anything?
No.
Okay, great. Why don't we start with item 1 then?
Item number 1 relates to a motion relative to FR3 coolant technology and transformers. It's a motion which you introduced. We have staff from DWP.
Good morning. I'm Marvin Moon, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. I see that there's an interest in the looking into feasibility of using mineral seed oil for transformers. I don't know if the committee is aware, but we responded with to a similar motion back in January to this inquiry. The department, of course, uses mineral oil transformers for transformers. And we do have mineral seed oil transformers under evaluation. We have 2 large substation transformers and about 78 distribution transformers, both overhead and underground, and they're under a long-term investigation.
And how long is the long-term investigation?
It's a 5-year study.
5-year study? And
Yes.
we're in which year?
This is the 3rd year for the substation transformers and the 1st year for the distribution transformers.
Do you have any initial findings or, something in progress that you can put on the record as to whether or not it's going in the direction you think it should or not?
No, we don't have any initial findings on it. The transformers are operating properly. Our concern is long-term degradation of the oil because it is biodegradable. We just want to make sure it doesn't degrade in our transformers.
And then what's the special mark at 5 years? Is that when you think oil degrades ultimately, or?
No, because transformers last a lot longer, but we feel that we would observe some sort of something going on if there was an issue with that.
Are you tracking? I guess what I'm trying to pull out of you, is there something that you can tell us as to whether it seems to be working or not, or whether the oil is degrading at a pace that is faster or slower than you expected, or do you have benchmarks, and are you graphing them?
No, we were going to...
Basically, I'm wondering at the end, you're not going to wait for 5 years and go like, oh, wow, this is really great, or this isn't working. What are you doing in the meantime from years 1 to 5?
Well, our plan was to go back in about 2 years to pull a sample to see if we observe anything.
Okay. So what can you tell me today?
What I can tell you today is we're using these on an experimental basis.
And that it's going well or not?
So far, they're operating fine.
And you haven't experienced any extraordinary, does it look like something you may ultimately embrace?
Yeah, it's possible. The key is the degradation issue, just to make sure that well, let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Manufacturers have introduced alternate transformer fluids over the years, including oil-based things such as R-temp, silicone oil, and other sorts of seed oil transformers. Mm-hmm. This one appears to be one of the more viable options, and that's why we decided to investigate it and try it out in real life.
So ultimately, how will you decide whether or not this is the most viable option, and then decide to use it on a permanent basis?
Based on our evaluation, we'll determine if there's any degradation issue, and by then as well there will be other industry testing that has gone on, and we'd make a decision at that time to move forward or not.
And then when will you make that decision? At what point do you decide that there is degradation or not?
Through the 5-year study.
So doesn't this occur like in a trend, though? It doesn't just happen and all of a sudden
It happens over a long period of time.
Yeah, right.
That's correct.
So how do you track that potential degradation?
By taking oil samples on a periodic basis.
Okay, I don't know. I feel like is this like a big secret or something?
No, ma'am.
Because if it's a secret, just tell me, and
No,
I'll stop asking the same question over and over again.
No.
Okay.
The way an evaluation goes is you put in service. First, you look at the test reports that you do have on the material. You put it in service. You test it periodically, see if how it's trending. If it looks like it's good, then you make a decision, yay or nay, up or down.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I
We'll report back because they haven't actually conducted conducted any of the testing yet.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So we will
Thank
actually
you.
report back.
Because I was thinking maybe I'll just keep it in committee for 5 years and you can just come back every 90 days until you crack.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to report back?
Yes.
When can you report back? Wendy?
A year from now.
In a year.
Okay, could we maybe have a report back in 6 months as to how it's going?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All
Matt-
right, so would you calendar this for 6 months for a report back?
Certainly.
Would you like to ask any questions, Mr. Alarcon? Okay, and then 2 and 3 were continued. So we'll go over to 4.
Okay.
We'll
Madam-
see you in 6.
Item number 4 relates to consultant services agreements for sanitation's automated master plan. We have
I
staff.
hope the other discussions will be less painful than the last one. Thank you. Okay.
Staff from the CEO and sanitation.
Okay, great.
Morning, Emilio Rodriguez, CAO's office. Bureau of Sanitation has utilized systems consultant services through an as-needed rotating list to focus appropriate project management and staffing levels on some of their more complex projects that are identified in its automation master plan. The services are required for the development, modification, and upgrade of computer automated systems that control the wastewater treatment processes. The rotating list includes experts who have in-depth knowledge and experience with wastewater treatment systems and are capable of implementing new automation using wastewater best practices. The tasks are inclusive of software engineering, systems integration, server design, network development, automation, and training services. As part of the agreements, the consultants are required to train Bureau employees on the operation and maintenance of systems once implemented. The selection of contractors is based on a 2006 RFQ. Total of 13 firms were considered. 12 are recommended for placement on the rotating list. Over the 5-year contract term, there's a total of $7 million that's expected to be spent. First-year funding would be at $800,000. Sufficient funds are available from wastewater special funds. Subsequent year funding would be addressed in future wastewater budgets. It's part of the Bureau's ongoing efforts to keep its automation needs and goals on par with its strategic planning process.
On the rotating list of consultants, are these the same consultants who've been on there for the last 5 years, or have you rotated in new ones and made some additions or deletions?
Some of them may be on a repeat basis, but Bob Irving is here to provide
What
more
led to the
detail.
changes?
Good morning, Bob Irvin, Bureau of Sanitation. We put a new RFQ out, and some of the firms are ones that are on the current list, but there were also new firms that were added. So there was an opportunity for firms that haven't had an
And the last
opportunity to be on the
RFQ was
list.
put out in,
The prior one was put out around 2001, I think.
okay, and then
That-
again in 2007?
The list that we're approving now, yeah, the RFQ was sent out in, 2006,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Long time ago.
Where do you, given our current budget crisis, where do you anticipate funding for future years for these contracts coming from?
Sewer Capital Fund.
Okay. We've been joined by Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Cardenas, and Ms. Gruhl, and we're on item number 4. Do any of my colleagues have questions on item number 4?
Just a follow-up
Ms.
on a
Grohl.
question that you asked Ms. Perry on you said is it the wastewater capital improvement program? Or sewer,
Sewer Capital Fund, I believe the funds are coming out of the,
and the source of revenue for that is,
uh,
for the sewer capital fund?
It's ratepayer funded, Madam Chair.
it's the sewer charges.
Yeah, it's the sewer service charge.
Okay,
Right.
so-
It's special fund.
Yeah, there's
And
no
so it
general
will only be
funding.
used for things related to, that's what I guess I was going
Right, correct.
towards that.
All right. Okay, great. Without objection, then let's move item number 4.
Okay.
Mr. Garcetti's just joined us. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair, now that you have a quorum, would you like to go through the rest of the agenda?
Sure, that'd be
Previous
fine.
items that we've covered? Item number 1, continued for 6 months, report
page
back from
cut?
DWP.
Squeeze it. Okay, great.
Consent on item number 2,
Yes,
consent on 3,
without objection,
and approval on item number 4.
without objection.
Item number 5 is a DWP report relative to American Water Works Association membership. Staff from DWP.
Okay. Don't be sneezing on these. Oh, my gosh. Gosh. All right.
Good morning. The CAO report before you recommends approval of a DWP request for continuation of membership and payment of fees to the American Water Works Association Research Foundation. This is a nonprofit corporation for research on issues involving water quality, water operation, and water supply. According to the department, this foundation is the department's primary source of scientific research. The foundation produces scientific studies for the drinking water industry, publishes a monthly research journal, provides customized research and dollar-for-dollar match of DWP funds. The continuation of this membership is for 3 calendar years, 2008, 2009, and 2010, with fees not to exceed $450,000 per year. And representatives are here if you have any questions.
And what is the source of, where do the money for the fees come from?
This is from the Water Revenue Fund,
Okay, all right.
DWPs.
And how long has the department been a member?
It's been a founding member since 1986.
Anybody else have questions? Mr. Garcetti?
Yeah, just for the general public, could you give an example of some of the research that the foundation has done that's been useful to our operations?
Yes, good morning. I'm Marty Adams, Director of Water Quality and Operations. There have been a number of studies, matter of fact, probably too long to list all, but we've had studies ranging from looking at water resources to studies dealing with the use of ozone as we use at our filter plant. You're familiar with the bromate issue that we have right now. We'll be embarking on a study to look at bromate. Right now, we're the only research that's going on with that. The pharmaceutical issue that just came out in the press, there was a study started in 2004 by AWARF dealing with pharmaceuticals in the water supply. So there's been about 91 studies that we've participated in that totaled value about $39 million since the program began.
Super. Thank you.
Mr. Cardin?
Question. So it's interesting that you should say that we have an issue facing us, and yet we're the only. This organization is the only one doing a particular type of study. That's the kind of necessity for this organization to make sure that when it would be the region, I suppose, not just DWP.
Yes.
When we're facing certain issues, we can actually act and react to certain responsibilities, such as doing research or bringing in other informed organizations to educate us on how to attack issues and problems that are facing us when it comes to water issues?
Yes, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Actually, the bromate issue is a great case in point. It was something that we discovered that was not even addressed by the regulatory framework. And so there was no EPA research or anything regarding that. So when we found the bromate in Elysian and Silver Lake reservoirs, understanding the problem was solely on our shoulders and on on our folks in the water quality lab. And so having this tailored collaboration money in this program allows us to direct a particular study that just we want, and we'll get matching dollars for that, so we can make sure that the study is done on a more national level than besides just by ourselves.
And when that happens and we actually get information that we can act on, does it in fact preserve and or save resources for the city?
Absolutely. We could never staff up to the level that we would need to try to do the research on our own. So this enables us to effectively access thousands of people at universities, consultants across the country, people in the water industry that can do research on our behalf. And then frequently research that's done here also contributes to future regulations in the water industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Well, without objection, we'll move that. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you.
Item number 6 relates to a DWP report relative to Enterprise Rent-A-Car amendment, an existing contract for van pool lease vehicles.
Excuse me. Good morning. I'm Bill Kreitzer, the CAO's office. The report before you recommends approval of a DWP request to enter into a 6-month extension of an agreement with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, as well as one 6-month...
Now, the agreement lapsed, so,
Oh, yes, it did.
yeah.
Do
Do you know why it lapsed and there's been this gap in time?
I'm not exactly certain why. It lapsed January 31st.
Good morning, Ken Chan from Department of Water and Power. Basically, we started the process last year, and we went to our own contracts committee, and our contracts committee approved an item, but under one condition, that we would have to green our van pool program. Because this contract is for the employee van pool program. We currently have 48 vans under that particular contract. So under our contracts committee's direction, we went back, we researched, and we looked at different options, and we identified and committed 10 CNG vehicles at very minimum for this contract. And that is the reason that why the current agreement lapsed.
The only question I have is, how do we extend an agreement that's already lapsed?
I believe in the
That would be a new agreement.
Okay, the replacement spec has been released. As a matter of fact, the bids are due back by today. That one includes the 10 CNG vehicle as our first step to green our van pool program. In addition to that, we're also looking at different options, and we will be issuing a separate RFP, which is anticipated to be released by early part of May.
Okay, I just want to clarify. You're asking us today to extend an agreement that expired on January 31st, 2008, correct?
Correct.
So that agreement's basically done. So what's the bridge between that period of time and where we are now when you're up against a deadline? What action?
Is it on a month-to-month currently?
No. In our board letter, there's a ratification clause. Because the item went to our own board on January the 22nd before the contract expired. Right. And in the motions that we have a ratification clause to ratify RAT.
If I might also add to that, there is something called a ratification clause. I wrote a little bit about it rather briefly in the report, and it is developed by and approved by and recommended by the city attorney. Basically, it's a gap. It allows the city to maintain the current conditions and expenditure rate as with the previous contract until the council approves this in anticipation, hopefully, of approval.
So you're asking us to vote on the ratification portion then?
There's a ratification clause included,
But
yes.
is that because the ratification which will extend the agreement, or the ratification is basically a holding pattern until you come up with a new agreement?
That is correct. It basically bridges the gap from the expiration date of January 31st of this year until the council would authorize this, hypothetically sometime this month, let's say. It allows the contract and all the provisions to remain exactly the same for an approximate 2-month period. It does not extend the term of the agreement. The 6 months would still conclude July 31st, but it basically allows us to operate without a gap in service. Otherwise, we would possibly, DWP that is, might be in jeopardy of non-compliance with the Air Quality Management District.
And then what would be the proposed end of the amendment? When would the amendment then end?
The ratification clause would conclude when the new contract begins.
So it's open-ended?
Retroactive back to, I guess, February 1st is when that would begin. So the contract period of 6 months, which would go from conclusion January 31st to July 31st, that would not change.
And so no one's given any explanation as to why there's been a gap in time. Does anybody know why?
Well, the gap between, it's basically like, under the direction of our contracts committees, and we went back, we did research, because initially in our specs, we did not consider alternative fuel vehicles. But our contracts committee specifically requested us to go back and do research and look into that options. And because of the nature of the specs, we kind of struggled. We try to spec it out by each different type of alternative fuel vehicles. That is the primary reason.
And has that affected your ability to get competitive bids or not?
No, because the replacement spec, which is due back by today, as I stated, includes 10 CNG vehicles. And in addition to that, we will be issuing a separate RFP to look into other options, which includes biodiesel, liquefied natural gas, propane, and all these different type of ethanol as well. So hopefully we can find some good combination here to green our van pool program.
And Madam, just for your information, I mean, we accept that the reason the delay was that our group did not look into the CNG, the alternative fuels. Moving forward, each time that we present something, we will look at these.
And can you give your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Faye Strong from Department of Water and Power.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions from colleagues? Okay, well, Ms. Gruhl?
My question was related to, do we ever look at the purchasing versus leasing option as far as cost effectiveness?
Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, we did a cost analysis, and we determined it's a whole lot cheaper to lease the van, because if you purchase the van, not only you have to pay the money up in front, but you also have to maintain it, meaning that you have to require additional mechanics position to maintain the van. I believe the department started off that track late part of the 80s. But as our own van getting old, being salvaged, then we determined it's more cost effective to lease the vans.
Thank you.
We have.
Thank you. No further, Mr.? Okay. All right, great. Without objection, we'll move that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that is the end of our agenda. This is the time for the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda. Feel free to come forward. Seeing that no one is coming forward, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Well, that's like, how do they make a profit?